Hi, I'm Dr. Veronique Desognier, better known as Dr. V, and founder of breastcancerconqueror.com and the 7 Essential System. And my mission is to empower women around the globe so they never have to fear breast cancer again. So welcome to our podcast, and we have an amazing guest today, Debi Silber. Now, Debi is a rock star in my book. I mean, she has done so many amazing things. She's been on TEDx. She's written for Huffington Post. She's contributed to Fox, CBS, The Dr. Oz Show, Shape Magazine, Self Magazine, Working Mother, Forbes, Psychology Today. I mean, she's really done some amazing things. And if you really want to see a great TEDx talk, look at her talk. It just was really so empowering for me. Her website is debisilber.com, and she's basically a health coach. She works with people on their mindset. She empowers them. Personal development is very, very important for her. And today she's going to share some interesting things with us about self-sabotage and getting out of that stuck situation that you may feel. So before we dive into that, Debi, thanks for being on our show. Really appreciate your time. And so tell us a little bit about your story and why you're doing what you're doing now.
Sure. Well, first of all, that was such a wonderful introduction, but clearly the most interesting thing about me is I have 4 kids and 6 dogs.
Okay.
For some reason, that's what
dogs. Yes.
See?
That is amazing.
So the rest is just, extra. I've been in health for 27 years, dietitian, master's in nutrition, whole health coach, functional diagnostic nutritionist. And I was helping people get healthy, and that was great and all. I had my own health crashes. I kept healing from them. And then I realized, mindset is truly behind a lot of this. The reason why we have the weight issue, the health issue, very often in the first place. Not always, but a lot of the times. So I started working on the mindset piece. And then I was working with a lot of people around crisis and trauma. And then I was having my own issues with that as well. And so I wrote my book, The Unshakable Woman. And it was really around, I had kind of created this process using everything I had ever learned and everything I had ever worked on with clients myself, how to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually from this life crisis. That led me to this PhD program in transpersonal psychology. So I'm almost done. And I just did a study on betrayal. And it's something I've personally experienced. And it's how women experience betrayal, but what helps them heal and what holds them back. And it's truly what I'm here to do. I know how to help women heal, and that's what I'm doing.
It's so powerful, and your book was just so empowering for me when I read it. It just really strengthened some beliefs I already had, but it really gave me some insights about our life as women, and the many challenges that we face, and how we can be unshakable once we build our self-core and our self-belief. Now, when we're dealing with an issue like breast cancer, for example, how do you see the emotional piece? How is that related? The emotional aspect to a cancer diagnosis, and a lot of women that we work with have had very traumatic pasts, and traumatic events, and betrayal. All these things that you talk about. So how do those two connect?
We think that something sometimes is just physical or just mental or just emotional. It's never, it's always all encompassing. And I haven't personally had experience with breast cancer, but my closest friends, my mother, my grandmother. So it's something that is very close to my heart. And what I've seen is any type of crisis, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's a disease, the death of a loved one, betrayal, which is the trauma from a person, it sends us to a place we never expected. It creates a shock to the body and the mind. There's a grieving process. There's a very predictable process when we experience that. What I've seen though over and over again is we always have a choice. It's almost like if you picture a pendulum, and many people choose to, if they can, live here. You know, not so good, not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then something comes along and it creates this. Boom. And now here we are all the way over here. This isn't the problem. The problem is, here's where many of us plant roots. Here's where we say, well, this tragedy happened, so this is where I have to stay, and this is where I'll be, and this is these. Now I have to have friends who are, you know, feeling these same things and going along the same path, and we plant roots there that are so deep. That's where we stay stuck. Anybody who's done anything magnificent, look at the work you're doing. It's tragedy hit, something hit, and you said, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And here was that hard swing to the other side. So it's almost as if we look at it where any of these things that really hurt us, where they create that psychological earthquake, where life is now defined as before it happened and after it happened. And we always know those situations. If we look at it, we say, okay, I'm here, but now you have the gift of momentum. And here's where you say, okay, now I'm out of here and I'm going to do everything it takes to move to the other side. And when you look at the people that we read about, the people that we study, the people that we admire, they're not the ones here. They're the ones who were here and they said, oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to take this, learn from it, and then teach it to others. Boom.
Amazing. I love that. I love that idea of the pendulum. That's a great analogy. Why do some people stay stuck over here?
This is our mindset. This is our mindset. And, you know, we have something between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day, and about 80% are negative. And you and I both know people where that's probably conservative.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. If we have thoughts all day of, you know, I'll never heal, I'll never be well, this is terrible, this is, I don't deserve to heal, I don't deserve to have that healthy, whole, healed body. I don't deserve these beautiful relationships. I don't deserve abundance. I'll never be out of debt. Whatever it is that we say, when we say it often enough, the mind simply says, oh, okay. And we'll find confirming evidence to support that belief. So then we say these things so often, and you know, I don't know about you, but I have all these these programs running, minimized on my computer that run.
Right.
They are so draining, and they take up a lot of space. So we do that, and we don't realize how now we have this running program of, I won't get well, I'm not going to heal, I'll never get better, I'll never be abundant, I'll never have those relationships, I'll never have that lean, fit, healthy body, I'll never have whatever. And we find confirming evidence. And then when those thoughts become a belief and solidify themselves, it just becomes a way of life. We don't even notice it. It's just who we become.
Wow. And so what do people do to get unstuck? So if somebody comes to you and let's say they have a diagnosis of breast cancer and their life sucks, and they know that in the last 2 to 5 years they haven't taken care of themselves, they've had major stressors, whether it's financial, relationships, spiritual, whatever. Mm-hmm. And how do you take people from this position and move them to that position?
You know, the first thing I would say, you know, there is no blame here. And I think so often we blame ourselves when something happens. It's not a fault thing. Mm. And very often I see where some of these, and this sounds full-blown crazy, but some of these crises that come along are the best gifts that could have happened to us. You know, I have women who I see where, you know, because of their messy divorce, they found their soulmate. Because they got fired from their job, they're doing the work they love. Because they got that disease, they now have a love and appreciation for life they never would have had that not happened. For me, my own betrayal led now to this PhD work that I'm doing, this study, a new book, a new program. I'm going to do certifications. I mean, there is so much that's coming because of this that I never would have done had this not happened. So I look at it and I say, well, okay, sure, tragedy struck, and yes, it hurts, and yes, it's powerful, and yes, it's painful. But if you work towards an out, if you work towards an improved option, whatever that is, at least it didn't get you twice. You know, it's almost like let's take betrayal, for example. Let's say you're struggling emotionally and mentally with this betrayal. If you do something good with it, there's something positive happening from this negative experience. And this is something else I've seen when it comes to it comes to disease. I've seen this with weight loss clients, and I know this is going to sound very odd too. If you can't imagine who you'd be without that disease, in that lean, fit, healthy body, things don't often change very much. And I know it sounds so crazy, like, well, of course I want to lose the weight, let's just say. But you know what? If you haven't worked out who you'd be there, that thought may terrify you. And it'll stay exactly where it is. And that was a big part of what the TEDx talk was about. You know, here, I used a few client examples, and you remember because you saw it, where I had a client, one of them, losing weight, and all of a sudden she sabotaged her success. Now, why would she do that? Because all of a sudden it hit her that her weight was a layer of protection. And now she was forced to face the fact, uh-oh, I'm not sure if I love my husband anymore. Uh-oh, I don't know if I really like that job. It forces us to see things. So it's easier to numb, soothe, distract, so we don't have to look.
Oftentimes we work with my team, and I work with women that come to us, and within 5 minutes of a conversation, we can tell if they're a victim or a victor. Now, how do you move somebody from that victim mentality? So, they're here and they can't even fathom thinking about being over here. And in a sense, they're comfortable over here because they're perhaps getting more attention from their spouse or their children, or it gives them the permission to say no. So how do you, help people change that mentality to go from there to there?
And that's such a great question. The first thing is we can't change what we're not aware of. And so often we're not even aware that we're thinking along those lines. I do it a little differently. We don't like calling ourselves a victim. Mm-hmm. Or, we do like the idea of being a victor. So I sort of show them the benefit that they may be receiving by being a victim. And I kind of call it like a small self and a higher self. There is very definitely a benefit that small version of us receives when we get that cheap self-pity, when we get to stay on the sidelines, when we don't have to perform, when we don't have to show up powerfully. There's a definite benefit right there, but the benefit is only soothing to that smaller version of ourselves. When we look at the benefit of who are we soothing here, the small self, as opposed to, but what could the benefit be? Let's just take weight loss, for example. There are very definite benefits of staying, keeping that weight on. Mm-hmm. The small self is very happy. You get to be right. Like, see, I told you I couldn't lose the weight. Right? You get to all the things that we can come up with. But what's the benefit to the higher self? If you really get that weight off, a new life, being in control of your body, showing up powerfully. Now what are you able to see and do and feel and be because, you changed, you made those changes. So which self are we satisfying?
That is so good. I love that. The higher self and the smaller self. Yeah, that just fits perfectly. Now, why do you think some women may self-sabotage? So we also see this pattern. They're rocking along, they're doing great, they're on their protocol, numbers are coming down, they're feeling better, but then all of a sudden they may come off their protocol or really, junk out on junk food and sugar for weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. Why do you think there's sometimes a self-sabotage pattern that some people have established?
If I had to say, an umbrella for all of it, it's fear. It's just fear. Oh. Because think about it. if you really make the changes you need to go to that next level, a lot of questions come up. You know, let's just take, for example, let's say you realize, I just hate my job. You face that, you realize, I hate my job. And now you say, oh my gosh, now you start asking yourself a bunch of questions. Oh my gosh, but this is all I know. This is what I've done. This is who I am. This is right. With those questions, now we bring on lots of changes. Well, who am I going to be with every day? What's that going to look like? What do I do about my kids? What do I do about health coverage? All these things. And you know, and with those changes, a very different outcome. So it brings up all of that fear, because we know when we make that change, it changes our lives, right? So I've seen one of three scenarios happen in this, and it's the first one is full-blown acceptance. Like, using that example, let's just say every day you come home from work, you hate your job, but you don't even realize it, so you binge, right? And that's what you're doing. Well, which is really telling your mind and your body to shut up, right? To stuff so we don't look. Right. But if instead, and remind me, and I'll tell you, I'll share with you the questions to see if you're really doing that. But let's say we decided to look at it, you know, head on, and you did. And you said, I don't really like my job. But then you said, you know, it's really giving me, I like dress down Fridays. I get to leave when I need to. It's actually okay. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be good with it for the next year or two. And when my kids are out of school, I'll reevaluate. You actually may have a greater appreciation for your job now, because you see it through very different eyes. No need to binge. You weren't running from it. You looked at it. Mm-hmm. So that's when you face it. Then I've seen two other scenarios. One I call the self-induced life crisis. And this is the day you throw out the cookies, you make the doctor's appointment, you quit the job, pack your bags, you know, it's that day. And your life is radically different from that day forward. And then third scenario is the life crisis. And it is the greatest catalyst to change, because there's the wake-up call. That's what the heck have I been doing? Mm-hmm. There's more. What am I doing? Now's my time. So none of them are bad. It's just, we're headed for one of them. We can prevent the life crisis. We can heal from one. It's all good.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's all in the outcome.
Absolutely.
Right? So what are those questions? You said to remind you about the questions.
So the questions would be, if you find that you're numbing and distracting yourself through either food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, keeping busy. That was mine. I could not be busy enough. And when I get that busy, I know I'm running from something. And what we resist persists, right? So if you find that you're running in some way to numb, distract, you know, what's happening is that voice that you're meant to do something different or meant to do something bigger gets louder and louder. So the stakes get higher and higher. You know, if one glass of wine did it, now it's 2. One $500 shopping spree did it, now it's 1,000. One show did it, now you're binge watching a series. You know, so the questions would be, am I numbing and distracting myself? And be honest. If so, how? What am I? And now here's the question that we don't like. What am I pretending not to see? Yeah. My relationships, my health, my job, right? What am I pretending not to see? How will life look in 5 to 10 years if I keep this going?
Love that question.
And how could life look in 5 to 10 years if I make a change now?
That's awesome. Because I always encourage our community, you know, you may be in this body now, but how do you know, when you think of creating vibrant health, how does that feel? What does that look like to you? What does your celebration party look like in, you know, a year, 6 months, whatever it is? Who are you going to invite? What are you going to wear? What are you going to serve? So it really puts them in that future time where they can really move towards that instead of just being stuck in that.
And that's such a great activity that and it's so wonderful that you're doing that. I do something similar. It's a visioning activity, and I have them see who they are at their physical, mental, and emotional best. And it becomes the bullseye. That's what you're shooting for. So instead of wondering, now you know. And what aspect of that can you do now? So if you see yourself looking radically different than you look right now, but maybe you changed your hair color in the vision that you saw. Maybe you could get that hair color.
Yeah.
I remember doing this with someone, and she pictured herself in a mountain biking group. Now, physically, she was in no physical condition to do that, but she could join a mountain biking group. An online group. So what can you do? I remember doing this with one of my clients. She was from California and I'm in New York. And she told me exactly what she looked like to the T. And about 3 months later, she posts a picture on Facebook. Oh, what do you think of my new do? And she looked exactly like the image that she had described to me 3 months earlier. Now, I wasn't going to call her out on Facebook, but I text her. Do you remember that image that we talked about? And about 10 minutes later, I get OMG and like 10 exclamation points. She had become.
Wow.
She pictured it.
Yeah.
Just like what you're doing with your clients and patients.
Yeah. So important because it pulls you forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Einstein, I love what Einstein says. He says, it's physics. What you imagine and what you move towards is not, good intentions, but it's the law of physics. It's just, it's a basic truth.
Right.
So somebody's diagnosed with breast cancer. It's a traumatic, life-changing experience. Your life will never be the same, and that's a good thing if you choose to make it into a catalyst for growth. So how do you help somebody move from a trauma, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, to helping them see that this could potentially be a great catalyst for their growth?
Mm-hmm. It's really, it's a combination of so many different things. And it's really, when I work privately with clients, there's no one order for everyone. Typically though, there's so much fear and anxiety from the moment they discover any sort of shock. So that's, personally, I found with my clients anyway, that's not the time to talk about healthy eating.
Right.
It's a really important concept. That's not where their head is. They just want to, there's so much chaos in their mind. There's so much fear and anxiety. We just want to tamper that down a little bit, just so some clarity emerges, and what about, support is so huge, making sure they have that support because they need it. And especially if someone is going through something similar, who's not to sit and complain about, who's paved the path that they're about to walk on. That's really powerful. Like I have, there's a group that I run in, and there are a few women in there who've, lost their children. Now, this is something I can't even pretend to understand, and I would never. So, but I encourage them I can only give the love and support that I'm capable of giving, but I encourage them to get support from people who understand that, because it's going to be very different than what I can offer, because it's something I don't know.
That's so true. That's so true. And that's why community is so important. As a matter of fact, there was an 11-year study done on women who were healing from breast cancer. And they found that women who learned to manage their stress and who had community support had a 79% decrease in mortality rates.
Yeah.
So it just shows you, how powerful it is to really communicate and get with people who've, as you mentioned, have paved the way or have walked in your shoes. Very, very powerful.
It's so powerful. But here's what I see too when it comes to women. We're so used to doing everything on our own and being, it's a blessing and a curse. We're so capable.
Right.
So we do it all until we can't.
Right.
And then, we have another curse. We are so great at giving.
Yes.
And we stink at receiving.
Yes.
Right?
So true.
And so the thought of us being in a position where we actually need the help and we actually ask for it, it's almost harder than everything else we're facing. So, but here's the thing, we wouldn't hesitate for a minute helping someone else. So I want everybody who's aware of this now to realize, well, what makes you feel your friends don't feel the same way about you? So we're sort of ripping them off if we don't allow them the opportunity to help in a way that maybe they really can and they want to if they only knew that we needed it. So often when we need the support, and listen, I'm guilty of this too. when I went through my hardest times, I didn't reach out to my friends right away and thinking I can just handle it and, you know, I can do it. I can do it. No, I can't. And
Right.
when I finally did, of course, they were like, what's the matter with you? We could have helped you. But I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
But trusting that your friends want to be there to support you. There are people, whether, or if it's a coach, a healer, or the right doctor, therapist, anybody, get some support. You're not meant to do this alone.
Yeah, that's so true. And you know, as women, we're nurturers, we're caregivers, caretakers, and it's difficult sometimes to ask for help. And that's one thing we just really encourage our, you know, our clients to do is just, you know, it's okay. We're giving you permission to ask for help for the first time in your life. If you know, need help doing your juicing or cleaning your house or taking care of the kids, you know, whatever it is, it's okay to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. So important.
It is. It is. Now you have an amazing free gift to offer. So do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. You know, I've been, you know, in doing this as long as I have, I see how we have huge energy drains. It's almost like if you picture a bowl, right? If you were to just take all of your energy and stick it in a bowl, the bowl would be so powerful and potent and filled with energy. The way I see women walking around, you know, the colander, the bowl with the holes in it. That's how we walk around. We are leaking a tremendous amount of energy all day long in, you know, poor nutrition, not sleeping enough, too much stress, too much, you know, poor relationships, all of these things. We're working at like 50%. And look what we can do in spite of. So I look at it and say, how would you show up if you started plugging up some of those holes? So what this gift is the 16 most popular holes that I see. I also, there's a lifestyle tracker because, you know, what we track and measure, we improve upon, and an opportunity to win a mini coaching session with me.
Wow, that's awesome. I love the colander. That's a great analogy. That's going to stick in my head. I've got a
Isn't
few
it true?
holes I have to plug.
Right.
And where can they find this amazing gift, Debi?
DebiSilber.com/free. Debi, DEBI. So
Right.
4 letters, Silber, SILB like boy, ER.com/free.
Okay, and we'll have those links so everybody can just click on them. So, well, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing as always. I'd love to hear your stories. You're just so energetic and enthusiastic and so very vibrant, and you know your heart shines through. So, thanks for your time and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.